the thing that's stupid to me is that this is back in the 60s and they had 580 horsepower on tap. Like, horsepower has never been an issue for cars. Never.
No, 100%. That is a, what do you want to call that? Management, decision making, whatever else you want to call it. But engineers have for many, many decades
Emissions.
now. Even emissions.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a weird era in the 70s, but that was, I think, how to phrase this, inexperience with what the overall goal needed to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like other companies, mostly not American companies, but still, were able to meet emissions targets and still make reasonable power numbers. Hell, there was I don't remember the years, so forgive me for the fans out there because I'm not a Honda fanboy. But there was a few years of the Civic after catalytic converters became standard that the Civic didn't have cats still because they were able to meet the emissions target without using a catalytic converter.
Yep.
It's like emissions, everybody uses that as a crutch for not making power, but I don't think it is, man. Just takes a different, the different approach and the right approach to making efficient use of power and all that jazz. But power's never been the issue.
No. Of course, nowadays we're getting to the point of where electronics and tire compounds are safe enough where you can sell something that's got 500 horsepower.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother thing, right?
And right,
the Z01 probably only made mid to high fours to the tire, which doesn't sound that sketchy in this day and age when Hellcats throw down 600 plus to the tire. But yeah, on like a 235 bias ply 15
biased ply.
Like legitimately, man, this was 69.
Drop of water on the road. Yeah. No.
These were putting this down through
my
like
Duster, right, had factory wheels on it, and they were 195s, like 195 15s.
That's what I'm saying. This was a Corvette. Probably had a solid 235, the wide bias ply. 15 by 7 rally. Man. Yeah, 15 by 7 rallies with a 235 on it. And that was a beefy tire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some absolute...
Never mind the 315s or the 305s that the new cars come with.
And some absolute unit of a driver sent that thing down the drag strip with a Muncie 4-speed.
Yeah.
Like, shit's different nowadays.
The machismo back then was just so much higher.
Right.
Yeah.
In case anybody's never seen it, like, you absolutely owe it to yourself to go watch. And you can go watch it on YouTube or whatever. That's cool. You need to go see it in person. Gassers. Manual trans gassers at the drag strip.
Yeah.
It is a whole nother level of...
Yep.
Just different. The ones here, local here in Atlanta, I go out and watch them every so often. Rip, our track's closing down this year, so that's probably going to stop. But...
Oh, man.
I know. But back when we could, you'd see them out there, I don't know, 7 or 8 times a year. The local gasser circuit comes through and watch some guys rip off mid-10s, usually. Mid-10s, maybe low 11s, which doesn't sound all that fast, but watching the gassers do it it's a sight to see. Big blocks, 4 speeds. Yeah, just sketchy as hell the entire way down the track. Some dude in there ripping on like a 3-foot long shift lever.
This is after this is after nitroglycerin or what was it called? It's basically that rocket fuel that's like super illegal now. Nitromethane.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, top fuel cars, I think, still run some kind of methanol fuel.
Yeah, but I think that was the thing, too, is like you had the nitro gassers, which were like the gnarliest of the gnar, because those guys were like 14-to-1 compression ratio. Like,
yeah.
No shit's given. I should ask Freiberger and Mignante to give us a history on nitro gassers.
right? Yeah, something about seeing those big, like, tall front end gassers with like just a straight axle up front,
Hmm.
ripping it down the drag strip is just,
Yeah,
it's glorious. I don't even care if they're not that fast.
just cool.
I mean, the Mustang we were just talking about would give one of them a solid run for its money, bone stock,
Right.
and probably one with an intake and a tune could take one. Could a Mustang with an intake and a tune could absolutely take one of those gassers. But it's nowhere near
Yeah.
as awesome to watch. It's actually we've seen a couple
Yeah.
of them out at the
Well,
local.
and go one step.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it was like we see nowadays the what is it, the Porsche Taycan S does 0
Yeah,
60 in like sub 3 seconds, and
yeah,
it's rocket fast, but there's just no drama with it. It's just gone.
yeah, yeah. We watched a few things out here at the local testing tunes. Right, you'll see a Tesla come out every now and then and rip off like a mid 11,
Hmm.
and it's just, I mean,
Yeah.
it's cool and all, but doesn't. What's your
There's
favorite
no
phrase there,
theater with it.
Craig? Doesn't rustle the jimmies.
Hmm. Doesn't rustle the jimmies.
It just doesn't, man. I could say the same for actually watching more than a handful of new 10-speed Mustangs and a couple other things. A couple of CTSVs. They're fast as hell, but it's just
Hmm.
not awesome to watch.
It's just not the same.
It's
I'm
not.
reading you know the name Tom Bailey, right?
Yes, yes.
So Tom Bailey is building a 55 Chevy Nomad gasser for his next Power Tour Drag Week vehicle, and they're shooting for sixes again.
Was he the dude that did the Pro Mod Vet? Who was that?
No, he had the six. So he's had the Camaros, right? The 6 seconds Camaros 1.0 and 2.0.
Who was that
And
vet?
then
There it is. Dave
was
Schroeder.
that Keith
Sorry.
Hank? Okay. Okay.
Dave Schroeder was the one that I saw a while back.
Let's see if I can pull up a video. 66 vet. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Street legal.
Yeah. Are you looking at pictures of it right now? It's pretty
Yeah.
obnoxious. It's a if memory serves, like a 590 something or 600 cubic inch motor.
Yeah. So 8 liter plus. Well, let's see here. 496 is 8.1 and a 540 is 8.8. So 590 would be almost 9 liters.
Yeah.
Oh, it's even bigger than that. It's an 872. So that's a 10.5 liter. That's a lot of engine.
It's 872 now. Is he running a bigger engine
That's a
than
lot
that?
of engine.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, but what do you make it? What do you make into an 872? That's almost like a custom engine.
Yeah. So it was a few years ago when I had looked at it. Back when our mutual friend uh, Tyler Dupree over at
Mhm.
Big Sexy Motorsports ran his Grand National.
Mhm.
I'd looked at Schroeder's car and I was like, that is amazing. Because like most of those cars, like competitive cars at Drag Week, are all forced induction, turbo supercharged setups and all that.
Yeah.
And Schroeder just has a massive naturally
Mhm.
aspirated big block and a lot of nitrous, but still,
And a lot of nitrous.
and a lot of nitrous.
But when your NA engine is making 1600 horsepower, Like at that point, a 200 shouts is kind of laughable, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, right. Like, what do you got to run some big jets for it to even make a difference?
To even wink, a 50 shot per cylinder
Yeah,
would still be probably too small.
yeah, you got a solid point there. On the good part, it does. I think he actually runs a plate kit, but or laughing. Well, the first time I saw that car, it's a. I don't know if it still has it on it. I'll have to find a current picture. If it still has the intake manifold that it used to have,
Mhm.
I think it does though.
Mhm.
Yeah, the most recent pick I could find, it still
I
has
had
it.
a plate kit per intake runner.
No, oh no, no, it's got a normal like four nozzle setup, but it's got this cool sheet metal intake with two throttle bodies facing straight forward, right?
Mhm.
And that's kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, normal EFI stuff until you realize those two throttle bodies are twin, like 102s. They're like Nick Williams LS throttle bodies.
Yeah.
It just has two
Yeah.
of them because, you know,
Yeah. It needs airflow.
apparently.
For everyone who's not aware, the in the LS world, if you're running anything bigger than a 90 mil throttle body, so a 102, you put on the perception that you're pushing a lot of power. So
Yeah.
having twin 102s that's an awful lot of air.
Yeah. I mean, the 102,
I will
that's like,
save a picture for later.
yeah. The 102 is like what LS7 guys run to run, 700, 800 horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I guess that tracks, right? If it's naturally aspirated making like 1,500 horsepower, well, that pretty much checks with the math.
You need two.
You need two of them. Yeah.
You need two.
Oh, man.
And I don't know what the conversion is to millimeter to inches off the top of my head, but like 102 is
25,
three and a
25
quarter.
point, it's 25.2.
Yeah. So sorry, it's 4 inches. 4-inch throttle body.
Yeah.
God damn.
All the air.
That's bigger than most people's exhaust pipes.
Yes. Legitimately.
I gotta hear this thing run. Like I bet this thing like literally reverberates the heart.
I don't know. It's always fun to me to see it like you'll find pictures on the interwebs, I'm sure, of it towing its trailer for drag week.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say,
Yeah, streetcar.
I mean, it did 1,000 miles of drag week. I'm pretty sure that makes it a streetcar.
Yeah. Even that's proving how reliable today's horsepower is. Because like you can make 1,000 horsepowers on a nitrometh V8, but to go 1,000 miles on it, like
That's a streetcar. Because that also means like
that's
not
pretty
unlike a lot
commendable.
of drag cars,
Yeah,
right?
that's
He's got to
pretty
have some sort of alternator. It's not a
cooling.
filled block. It's got to have cooling.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always said that, right? The people have different definitions of streetcar, but I feel like drag week is definitely one
Mm-hmm.
of the. That's the bar for fast street.
Yeah.
Sure, you can say you drove it to the track, but that doesn't mean much, right? If you live, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes away, sure, it can drive for an hour on the street.
Even an hour, because like 45 minutes on the highway is not the same as 30 minutes of stop and go. Heat
Yeah,
demands on a high compression NA engine.
yeah. Drag week is like
Man,
a
it's cool.
thousand miles
I feel
of some highway, some back roads, some stop and go. Like that's a real streetcar. I
Yep.
mean, street legal is debatable, but
Yep.
it's capable of living on the street.
And
Also,
the thing that
Craig's
gets
crying
me
right
too
now
is that
because
because of these
California.
vehicles, it makes California can go f itself. But what's amazing to me too is that like these vehicles really pull into question of like the whole hey, I want to make a faster car. Why? You've got these 2,000 horsepower monsters rolling around out there. Like, what does it matter? What does it matter?
There's always somebody faster.
Thank you so much for listening to the Broken Axle podcast. If you enjoyed us, please leave a comment and like and subscribe for more.
And if you want to help us out, we've got a new merch line. You can check the links below and follow our social media at the Broken Axle Podcast.
And you can find me on Instagram at nomadic.wheelman.
And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook as JustCan'tDrive55.
For the rest of us, hug your kids and call your mama.
And go bust some knuckles.